week 3 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few defense DST units I have as sleepers this week. The first one, the New England Patriots. I know the Patriots, their defense hasn't played well in the early going this season, but this week an okay matchup versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, where last week they had trouble with Pittsburgh at times in that ball game, and Seattle had a good output. So week 1 versus Vegas, 20 points allowed, 4 sacks and interception. And then week 2 in Miami, 27 points allowed, but they did have 5 sacks. Had an interception, a kick return touchdown as well in that one from Antonio Gibson. And this week versus Pittsburgh, like I said, Pittsburgh so far in the early going has given up the 7th most fantasy points to the DSTs on the season. Week 1 at the Jets, and then last week versus Seattle, where Seattle got to Rodgers a couple times and also had a recovery touchdown in the end zone as well. So New England available in tons of fantasy leagues right now in 86%. And I think if you're in a pinch in deeper leagues, their DST, that could be a decent sleeper option. Next DST, the Washington Commanders. So the Commanders did crack my top 12 in the rankings this week. This week they got a good matchup with the Vegas Raiders coming to town. I know Vegas got some great playmakers in the offense. Brock Bowers, Ashton Ginty, even though Ginty, we haven't seen it yet from him. But the problem with them is the offensive line isn't that good. And Geno Smith, he's inaccurate, is something we haven't seen from him over the last few seasons, where he was one of the more accurate quarterbacks. And with this pass rush that could get to the quarterback, in Washington most likely off to a lead where they can make Las Vegas one-dimensional, I think they're a decent sleeper option. Week 1 versus the Giants, 6 points allowed, 2 sacks. And week 2 with Green Bay in a tough matchup, 27 points allowed, 2 sacks. So available in 82% of fantasy leagues. And if you need defense this week, I think Washington is a good option back home versus a Raider offense that's had trouble the first 2 weeks. And the final DST I have is a sleeper, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars week 1 went out there. They had a good ball game versus Carolina. 10 points allowed, a sack, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery. And then week 2 at Cincinnati, they did give up 31 points, but they had 3 sacks and 3 interceptions. So Houston coming to town this week here. CJ Stroud, he hasn't looked the same since his rookie season in this offense. And pretty much the offense is Nico Collins and Nick Chubb when anything noteworthy for that offense. So this is a division matchup. This could be a grinded out type of ball game over there in Jacksonville. And like I said, Houston, they don't have much going on offensively. Jacksonville, like I said, had a good week 1. Not a great week 2, but still had 3 sacks and 3 interceptions. And I think in this one, that could maybe cause a turnover or 2 and get a few sacks and maybe hold Houston in that low mid-20 range. That's a few defense DST units I have as sleepers for week 3 of the fantasy football season.